Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. So, before we read, let's invoke the blessing of the Lord. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभयेव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः ईश्वरा परमा कृष्णः सच्चिदानन्दविग्रहः अनादिरादिर्गोविन्दः सर्वकारणकारणम्। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So we have been reading from book Rinadapi Sunichena by Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj. Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj ki jai. So we are at page number 98. A Society Without Envy, the chapter name. Section Kanishta Adhikari. This section of Bhagavatam also mentions the qualities of a Kanishta Adhikari. Archayam eva kare hare pujam ya shraddhaye hate natad bhakteshu chanyeshu sa bhakta prakata smrataha. A Kanishta Adhikari is one who offers worship to Lord Hari in his Archa Vigraha, deity form, according to Laukika Shraddha, not Shastriya Shraddha. It is a question of faith, Shraddha. There are two types of Shraddha: Shastriya Shraddha, faith in Sadhu Guru Shastra, and Laukika Shraddha, faith in the opinion of common people. When we speak about Shraddha, we mean Shastriya Shraddha. One should develop Shastriya Shraddha, not Laukika Shraddha. The Kanishta Adhikari, the neophyte, has not developed Shastriya Shraddha, but he has Laukika Shraddha. One who offers worship to Lord Hari in his Archa Vigraha, but Natad Bhakteshu Janyeshu Sa Bhakta Prakata Smrataha, does not pay respect to other devotees, Hari Bhakta, and does not become compassionate towards other living entities in whom Lord Hari resides, is a Kanishta Adhikari or Kanishta Bhakta. So, dear devotees, if we have a full faith in deity of Krishna and we are worshipping, but we have no interest in giving respect to other devotees or no interest in welfare of other devotees, then it's a Kanishta Adhikari or Kanishta Bhakta, because that Bhakta limits himself only to deity of Krishna. That's it. He has no business with other devotees or serving other devotees. But point to be noted, that's not Uttama Bhakta. Now next they are explaining Uttama Adhikari. Then Uttama Adhikari. Then who is an Uttam Bhakta? Uttam Adhikari. सर्वभूतेषु या पश्येत् भगवद्भावम् आत्मनः भूतानि भगवति आत्मनि एषा Bhagavato Uttamaha. The most advanced devotee sees within everything the soul of all souls, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Consequently, he sees systematically everything in relation to Supreme Lord and understands that everything that exists is eternally situated within the Lord. स्थावरा जंगम देखे ना देखे तार मूर्ति सर्वत्र हया निज इष्ट देवा स्मृति. The Mahabhagavat, the advanced devotee, certainly sees everything mobile and immobile, but he does not exactly see their forms. Rather, he immediately sees the form of the Supreme Lord manifest everywhere. These are the qualities of an Uttamadhikari. He sees moving and non moving, Sthavara, Jangama, but he never sees their outward form. What does he see? He sees his Ishta, his most beloved deity, Krishna, everywhere. Sarvatra Heya Nija Ishta Deva Smriti. This is the vision of a completely Krishna conscious person who is completely Krishna conscious. What is the complete Krishna consciousness? Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita, यो मां पश्यति सर्वत्र सर्वं च मयि पश्यति तस्याहं न प्रणश्यामि सा च मे न प्रणश्यति. One who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me. He is completely Krishna conscious. Tasyaham na pranashyami sa cha me na pranashyati. I am never out of his sight. He is never out of my sight. He sees me. I see him. This is complete Krishna consciousness. This is an Uttamadhikari. Sthavara Jangama dekhe, na dekhe Tara Murti. Sarvatra Haya Nija Ishta Deve Spruti. He sees moving and non-moving entities, but never see their eternal form. He sees his Ishta, his most beloved deity, Lord Krishna, who's there in the heart everywhere. That is an Uttamadhikari. And then there is a Bhagavata Uttama. Who's Bhagavata Uttama? Next section. Bhagavat Uttama. विसृज्यति हृदयं न यस्य साक्षात् धृरिर् अवश्यभीतो अपि अघोघा न सः प्रणाय रसमनया धृतान् गृही पद्मः सा भवति भागवता प्रधान उत्तमा. By uttering the name of Hari, all sinful reactions are destroyed. When that Hari is bound up in the heart of a Vaishnava, Pranaya Rasanaya, by the rope of love, he never leaves the heart of a such Vaishnava. That Vaishnava is Bhagavata Uttama. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaviraj Goswami has also explained these three types of Vaishnavas. Shraddhavan Janhaya Bhakti Adhikari Uttama Madhya Kanishta Shraddha Anusari. According to one's Shraddha, faith, one's eligibility for bhakti is classified as Uttama, Madhyama or Kanishta. शास्त्र युक्ति नाही जाने दृढ़ा श्रद्धावान मध्यमा अधिकारी से ही महाभागवान. The Madhyama Adhikari does not know so much Shastra Yukti, logical arguments based on revealed scriptures, but he is Drid and Shraddhavan. He possesses strong faith in Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru. He has strong faith in Krishna, Sadgati, Padadata, Krishne Karaha Vishwasa. He puts complete, unflinching faith in Krishna, who Sadgati Padata, the final auspicious goal. Madhyama Adhikari Sei Mahabhagwan. Such a person is very fortunate. He is a Madhyama Adhikari. शास्त्र युक्ते सुनिपुना दृढ़ श्रद्धा यनारा उत्तम अधिकारी सेई तरे samsara. One who is expert in presenting shastric evidences, who has unflinching faith, dृढ़ shraddha in sadhu, shastra, guru and Krishna, is an uttamadhikari. Taraya samsara, he can deliver the whole world. So, dear devotees, three kinds of devotees they explained here. Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and then Uttama Adhikari. So Uttama Adhikari is the one who has strong Shraddha, faith in Sadhu, Shastra, Guru and Krishna. He can present the Shastric evidences and help others. So he can deliver the whole world. And is called Uttama Adhikari. Kanishta Adhikari, who worship the deities but does not pay respect to other devotee. He has nothing to do with other devotee. He is only concerned with the deity worship. That's it. And then Madhyama Adhikari, who developed love for Krishna and also developed friendship with equals with the Vaishnavas, who's compassionate and merciful. And he is the one who ignores an offender also. He forgive also any mistake. Is Madhyama Adhikari. And Uttama Adhikari we talked about. And above the Uttama Adhikari also there is a Bhagavat Uttama. That when you total capture Krishna in your heart and bound with the love, and Krishna never go out of his sight even for one moment. So he sees Krishna and Krishna sees him all the times. Then he is Bhagavat Uttama Adhikari. So three category and then fourth Bhagavat Uttama, above everything. Develop Shastriya Shraddha, Yahara Komala Shraddha, Se Kanishta Jana, Krame Krame Tenho Bhakta, Haibe Uttama. One whose faith, Shraddha, is soft, who has not developed Shastri Shraddha, who only has Laukik Shraddha, faith in what common people say, is Kanishta Jana, a neophyte. Shastri Shraddha is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Shraddha Shabde Vishwase Kahe Subhardha Nishchaya Krishna Bhakti Haile Sarva Karma Krita Haya. Shraddha is confident, firm faith that by rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. Such faith is favorable to the discharge of devotional service. So we'll stop here in interest of time. So generally people have Laukik Shraddha. That's why people often quote dialogues from the movie, dialogues from the common people, or jokes, right? But that's not a Shastri Shraddha, that is a Laukik Shraddha. Now we have to come to Shastri Shraddha, and there is a process how we can come. So tomorrow we will hear how we can come to that. So we'll stop here. Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj ki Jai. Now we'll read Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. So we are at volume 5, chapter beginning the temple of Krishna Balaram. Prabhupada would take breakfast of fruits and nuts. Around 11 a.m., he would sit on the veranda in his gamcha while his servant massaged him with mustard oil. During the massage, Prabhupada would often speak with one or two of his Bombay devotees, giving them pertinent instructions. After lunch, he would rest an hour or two, and on arising, take a fresh take a glass of fresh coconut water or sugarcane juice. In the evening, he would meet guests and then around 10 p.m. take rest. At 1 a.m., he would rise and sit at his desk beneath a tent-like covering of mosquito netting and dictate his translation and purports to Chaitanya Charitamrita until time for his morning walk. See, Chaitanya Srila Prabhupada, 10 a.m., 10 p.m., he was sleeping, and 1 p.m., only 3 hours of sleep he was having. Several times a day, Prabhupada would call for Giriraj and other Bombay managers to confer on the latest strategy in securing permission to build the temple. When Prabhupada's Bombay friends would visit, they would often find him on the roof of tenement, sitting on white cotton sheeting and leaning on white bolsters, preaching the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita by the hour. He would ask his visitors to help him solidly establish Krishna consciousness in Bombay. One day during massage, Prabhupada confided to his servant, "Most men are retired at my age. I do not want to manage anymore. I just want to do some writing." Prabhupada asked if there were some place in the world he could go for 6 months, a place where he would be all alone, where no one would come to disturb him, and where he would not get any mail. Prabhupada's servant suggested Tehran. Prabhupada considered it and then suggested New Vrindavan. He spoke of Mahatma Gandhi, who could not even sleep at night because people were always after him, even though he traveled incognito. That very day, a letter came from Bhagavan in Paris inviting Prabhupada to tour his ISKCON centers in Europe. Immediately, Prabhupada was enlivened at this invitation. He said he would go. But earlier today, his servant said, "You wanted to go away and be alone?" Prabhupada laughed. "That will not be possible for me in this lifetime. Better I keep traveling and die on the battlefield. For a warrior, it is glorious to die on the battlefield, is it not?" Traveling around the world once or twice a year had become Prabhupada's routine. In describing his own spiritual master, he had written, "Hindus are not allowed to cross the ocean, but you send your devotees overseas to preach." The injunctions, the injunction for Hindus not to cross the ocean was to protect them from leaving the pious land of India, since so many Indians gave up their culture when they went abroad. So, dear devotees, as in the olden days, they says, right, Hindus should not cross the ocean. That was the purpose. Because as soon as people go out of India, land of India, they started forgetting their roots, their culture, right? And then pious activities also. That's why India is a very pious land. And that is why often people ask why God has so many incarnation only in India. Why not other part of? So earlier the whole world was one Bharatvarsha. But this particular tract of land, which is so called now India, It is Dharam Pradhan. Means so many pious activities people do. So many sadhus, saintly people are there, and they perform all sorts of pious activity. So when you perform pious activity, the your land is so pious, become pious, then Lord considered it to appear on that particular piece of land. That is Lord's inclination. So there is nothing like why only Padda because so many people do austerities there, right? On the other hand, Lord, that is called spiritual partiality, but Lord is still equal to all. That's why Lord sends their representative all over the world so that saintly people go other places also and purify. When Prabhupada had been a small child, one of his uncles had suggested he one day go to London and become a lawyer. But Prabhupada's father had protested. He did not want his son to be exposed to sinful ways of the West. Years later, Prabhupada had gone to London as a preacher to change the ways of the sinful. For this reason, Vaishnava should travel. Just before starting his European tour, Prabhupada explained to several devotees in his room that they also should travel and preach. He should, he said, they should do so while they were young. And then when they were old, matured in Krishna consciousness, they could go to Mayapur, retire, and simply chant Hare Krishna. Of course, for myself, Prabhupada added, I am not so mature. The devotees were silent a moment, but then one ventured. But Srila Prabhupada, if you say that you are not mature, then how can we even think that we are old or mature enough to retire? Prabhupada smiled and said, they would have to decide for themselves, but he was not mature enough. Tamal Krishna Goswami said, then we also will never become so mature that we can retire. So, dear devotees, that's another learning here that once we have sufficient knowledge of Krishna consciousness, we should share with other. We should travel. We should not remain in our home. And and it's a practice that often one or two time take a traveling assignment so that you travel and wherever you go, try to spread Krishna conscious or spread or distribute books, right? That way it will help you at the tail end of the life when we retire, right? You can live alone if needed because you have a practice of living alone while traveling, right? Because when we become old, our children will be busy in their old world, right? So what you will do that time? So practice starts now itself. April 18. Before going to Europe, Prabhupada responded to an invitation from his devotees in South India to attend a 3-day Pandal festival in Hyderabad. No sooner did he arrive at the airport in Hyderabad, however, than a group of reporters asked him for a press conference. Prabhupada consented, and a reporter opened with a technical philosophical question, inquiring whether Prabhupada's philosophy was Advaita or Dvaita. South India was so steeped in ancient philosophical debate between Vaishnavas and Sankarites that here an ordinary news reporter was concerned with comparative philosophies. Prabhupada scoffed at the question. What is the point of discussing such things? He challenged. Whether one is Dvaita or Advaita, Krishna says, Anad Bhavati Bhutani. Anna means grains. People have no grains. Grains are produced from the rains, and rains from the sacrifice. So perform sacrifice. You have to divide the society into four orders. You may be Dvaita or Advaita, but you need grains. Prabhupada's secretary wrote Bhagavan in Paris, keeping him informed of Prabhupada's location and schedule. Quote, you can connect us here until 29th or 30th of April, after which we will be back in Bombay. Your idea for festivals sounds nice. Here they had 3-day pandal. Last night about 1,000 people came, sat very silently through his whole lecture, and then pressed forward to receive blessing from Srila Prabhupada. Devotees had the deities on the stage and a Vyasasan and lots of prasadam for the guest. So imagine devotees, just pandal like program, 1,000 people turned up. April 25. From Hyderabad, Srila Prabhupada flew to Tirupati. There in mountainous Tirumala stands the richest temple in India, where a deity of Vishnu known as Balaji resides. The temple managers respectfully welcomed Srila Prabhupada and his party, providing them with two cottages on the mountainside. According to temple policy, people usually have to wait in long line before seeing the deity, since 15,000 people enter the temple daily, and they are given only a brief darshan. Non-Hindus are usually not allowed. But Srila Prabhupada and his disciples received the special honor of a private darshan of Balaji. Jai. At the end of a long inner sanctum, its entrance guarded by two large figures of Jaya Vijaya, the gatekeepers of Vaikuntha. The deity was enthroned. The only light in the inner sanctum came from flaming torches affixed to the walls or held by the pujaris. When approaching the deity in the hallway, many pilgrims would traditionally call out Govinda, but as Prabhupada entered, he sang Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Later, in his cottage, Prabhupada remarked that millions of people going to see Balaji were the proof that the masses are still attracted to God, despite government propaganda. Although most people may go to the Lord for alleviating material distress or for getting money, still they called out the holy name, Govinda. A devotee asked Prabhupada why the deity was called Balaji. Balaji, Prabhupada said, means child. Krishna as a cowherd boy, not in his Vaikuntha aspect. Prabhupada was pleased to stay in the cottage and take the deity's prasadam. He suggested that in New Vrindavan they build cottages like this and that ISKCON built temples like the temple of Balaji with its gold dome and extensive facility for visitors. One day, an official of the Tirupati temple, while visiting Prabhupada, mentioned that their collection was about 40 lakhs of rupees per month. Prabhupada inquired how the temple's income was being spent. When the priest indicated that most of the money went for renovation of the buildings, Prabhupada replied that temple renovation was good, but propagating the message of Krishna all over the world was better. Balaji is Krishna, Prabhupada said. His message should be spread. He descended as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach us. Prabhupada told the priest of how so many old churches in London were not being used. How will the spirit of the temple be maintained without preaching? Prabhupada asked. The priest then boasted that they were building another temple and installing Panchopasana, five deities recommended for worship by the impersonate Shankaracharya. Prabhupada was surprised. Your leader is Ramanuja, he said. He never recommended Panchopasana. For the 2 days in Tirupati, Prabhupada went 3 or 4 times daily to see the deity of Balaji. And whenever he went, the pujaris would clear the inner sanctum of all other visitors and allow him a private darshan for as long as he liked, standing in the torchlight before the mystical, bejeweled form of Balaji. Bombay, April 29. Although in few days Prabhupada would be leaving for Rome, a problem now faced him and the management of his Indian projects. Tamal Krishna Goswami was requesting that Prabhupada allow him to go to America. After 4 years of management in India, he was eager to try a different kind of preaching. His god brother friend Vishnu Jana Swami had pleased Prabhupada with his bus touring in America and had convinced Tamal Krishna that this was the most opportune preaching. Srila Prabhupada had accepted the proposal, although reluctantly. Certainly he would be good. It would be good for preaching in America and it would be good for Tamal Krishna. But what about India? Once again, Prabhupada was faced with the fact that the only manager for ISKCON in India was himself. Carefully, he reviewed a recent report of spending and accounts in Mayapur, concerned that all money be handled very carefully and spent exactly for the purpose it was intended. And next, he has written to Jayapataka Maharaj. So, in the interest of time, we stop here. It's already 6:03. And then tomorrow we'll read what letter he has written to His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. So the learning here is again preaching. First practice and then preach. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anybody has any question, correction, chastisement? Give 30 seconds and then we'll stop and continue chanting. Okay, so if there is no question, वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Ananta Koti Vaishnavind ki jai. Thank you, dear devotees, for listening to me, and please forgive me if I not read the book properly. So now we will continue our chanting.